Hello, my name's Casey Hammock, Alabama Forestry Commission. We're out here on Matt Hanna's property. He just purchased this land. We're going to do a prescribed burn, and we're finishing up some fire lanes in today. We use this dozer to put in our fire lanes with. We're getting close to be finished up. He owns about a little over 40 acres, right, give or take 40 acres. He's gonna do some wildlife management and some tree farm stuff. He's proud to own this piece of property, and we're proud to do this work for him.
The establishment of fire lanes along property boundaries is an important part of every landowner's best management practices. Fire lanes, or fire breaks as they are sometimes called, are a cleared path requiring regular maintenance to a minimum of 10 feet in width. They can be used to gain access to forest lands for emergency traffic. The establishment and maintenance of fire lanes becomes important in the unfortunate occurrence of a wildfire event, as the ability of responders to access your timberlands is a key component to suppressing the fire. Often it is a volunteer fire department that shows up first, and having ready access to their tanker trucks can lead to a quicker suppression. Cleared fire lanes along boundaries are also additional property protection to guard against accidental trespassing. Easy visual references help timber harvesters or hunters on either your property or the adjacent lands from inadvertently straying onto neighboring properties. Without proper fire breaks, there is nothing to keep fires from raging out of control from one property to the next. The best prevention is to act early and have fire breaks cut through to protect your homes, buildings, and properties. As with any land management activity, please consult a professional to assist with prescribed burning activities. Alabama state law requires that a prescribed burn be supervised by a certified prescribed burn manager and conducted pursuant to state law and rule applicable to prescribed burning to have liability protection. Prescribed fire improves browse and forage quality for wildlife by creating a more open midstory and understory. Prescribed fire improves forage quality by increasing the availability of grasses and forbs, nutrient content, palatability, and digestibility. However, the success and sustainability of these results depend on the frequency, season, and intensity of the prescribed fire. Further, the results of a prescribed fire highly depend on site, weather conditions, and landowner objectives. It is important to consider these factors as they can relate to the wildlife species you want to manage. Fire creates change in ecosystems, and many natural communities require fire to be sustainable. Fire influences the diversity, composition, and distribution of grasses, forbs, and plants, and tree components within an ecosystem, along with the associated wildlife species. Using prescribed fire as a management tool is the most cost-effective means of creating change and maintaining habitat for the benefit of the wildlife. Wildland fire can be a friend and a foe. In the right place at the right time, wildland fire can create many environmental benefits such as reducing grass, brush, and trees that can fuel large and severe wildfires and improving wildlife habitat. In the wrong place at the wrong time, wildfires can wreak havoc, threatening lives, homes, communities, and natural and cultural resources. Did you know fire can be good for people and the land? After many years of fire exclusion, an ecosystem that needs periodic fire becomes unhealthy. Trees are stressed by overcrowding, fire-dependent species disappear, and flammable fuels will build up and become hazardous. The right fire at the right place at the right time can reduce hazardous fuels, protecting human communities, minimize the spread of pests, remove unwanted species that threaten species that are native to an ecosystem, provide forage for game, improve habitat for threatened and endangered species, recycle nutrients back to the soil, and promote the growth of trees, wildflowers, and other plants. Forest Service manages prescribed fires and even some wildfires to benefit natural resources and reduce the risk of unwanted wildfires in the future. The agency also uses hand tools and machines to thin overgrown sites in preparation for the eventual return of fire. The Forest Service has been managing wildland fire on national forest and grasslands for more than 100 years, but the Forest Service doesn't and can't do it alone. Instead, the agency works closely with other federal, tribal, state, and local partners. This is more important than ever because over the last few decades, the wildland fire management environment has profoundly changed. Longer fire seasons, bigger fires, and more acres burned on average each year. A number of factors play a role in the ignition of a prescribed fire and how well it may carry. This makes the fuels component of a prescribed fire the most difficult issue to deal with. It is critical to know your fuels, the number of days since a rain event, the duration and amount of the rain of the event, and the relative humidity and wind. Anyone conducting a prescribed fire should be aware of these factors prior to conducting a prescribed burn. Fuels can be defined as any living or dead plant material that can be ignited by a fire. How a fire will burn is often based on the volume, arrangement, shape, size, and moisture content of the fuel. These characteristics are all interrelated. They affect each other and strongly influence fire behavior and the resulting effects of the fire. Fire effects will vary depending on the amount and composition of fuel. A burn plan designated to maintain a stand in good health cannot be the same as one needed to recover forest health of a degraded stand. Even when burn plans are appropriate for management objectives, application of fire as a rigid regime does not guarantee management goals will be met. The objective is not to burn, but rather to promote forest health via ecological work accomplished by fire. Prescribed fire is an important management tool throughout southern forest. It provides multiple benefits for both the timber and wildlife. Figure 2 illustrates the difference in the structure of a southern pine forest as a result of different prescribed burn frequencies of 1 to 3 years, including not burned. The area not burned has a dense midstory of small hardwood species with minimal to non-understory vegetation. The areas burned at 2 and 3 year intervals do not have the abundances of hardwoods in the midstory as does the unburned area. Rather, they have scattered smaller trees and woody vegetation reaching just above an understory composed of increasingly dense grasses and herbaceous plants. The area burned in a 1 year frequency has a dense understory of grass and herbaceous plants, and the small trees and brush are illuminated. Regular burning of these areas has resulted in more open forest ecosystems compared to areas that are not burned. Prescribed fire has been a part of land management across most of the South for as long as people have been living here. In 1982, fire historian Stephen Pine noted that the South has long dominated national fire statistics, leading in both frequency and acreage burned. Its history is a history of its fuels. The forest understory, with its tall grass, hardwood saplings, reproduction, and vines, provides the fuel for woods fires. The regular firing of the woods prevented fuel buildups that encouraged episodic fires elsewhere. And the fire history of the South is remarkable for the absence of conflagrations until the advent of industrial forestry in the early to mid-1900s. Fire was once one of the most common, ecologically important natural disturbances in North America, and despite anthropogenic distributions, remains vital for creating and maintaining many ecologically significant terrestrial ecosystems. Prescribed burning has long been used as a forest management tool, but only lately has the concept of a fire regime formally been applied to meet management goals. Burn frequency may have been the major factor in determining relative abundances of pines in the southeast before European settlement, and that fire regime factor has garnered the most attention in management. Fire regimes include many factors in addition to burn frequency: the month of burn, day of burn weather, the ignition pattern, and fuel type or load, among others. Shifts in any combination of the burn regime elements have the potential to alter the landscape. In the modern landscape, sites with altered vegetation or fuel are of special concern. Depending on the objectives of conducting a prescribed burn and the conditions of the site to be burned, it may be best to burn during the growing season or during the winter months. In general, most prescribed burning objectives can be accomplished during the winter months. However, burning during the growing season when temperatures are hotter may be beneficial or necessary. Let's not forget prescribed fire fuels or talk about the importance of the weather for a prescribed fire. Our fuels can be defined as any living or dead plant material that can be ignited by a fire. How a fire will burn is often based on the volume, arrangement, shape, size, and moisture content of the fuel. These characteristics are all interrelated, and they can affect each other and strongly influence fire behavior and the resulting effects of the fire. For us to execute a safe and successful prescribed burn, an understanding of several important weather elements is very essential. The wind, relative humidity, temperature, and precipitation are the important elements to consider when planning a prescribed burn. As we finish up today's lesson, I would just like to remind everyone about the benefits of prescribed fire. They reduce fuel loads to prevent catastrophic fire. They control low quality, undesirable, competing vegetation to allow the establishment of seedlings following planting and increased water, soil nutrients, sunlight, and resource availability for already established trees. It also improves wildlife habitat by creating a more open mid-story and understory and improving browse and forage quality and quantity. It also improves the aesthetic values by creating open spaces and increasing the presence of flowering plants and native pollinators. Along with increasing soil nutrients, controlling competition, reducing hazardous conditions, improving wildlife habitat, and improving aesthetic values, prescribed fire has many other benefits. It can be used to manage insects and disease, to improve access for timber operations, and improve forage for grazing opportunities. The specifics of prescribed fire highly depend on the site, weather conditions, and landowner objectives. The benefits of prescribed fire greatly outweigh its cost if conducted appropriately.